You'd think everything sold at pet stores would be safe for dogs, but you'd be wrong. In fact, there's quite a few things that pet stores sell that can make dogs really, really sick. So today, we're going to talk about 7 of them. Let's start off with rawhide. Yes, there are some benefits to rawhide, right? It's good for the dog's teeth, can help to keep the teeth clean. It provides mental stimulation, but there's also some very serious side effects that it can have. So due to the nature of how rawhide is, it's very easy when dogs are chewing on it to break off small pieces. And then we have a couple risks with those small pieces. First, there is a potential choking hazard. It can get stuck in the esophagus when they're trying to swallow. If it manages to get down, then we have a risk of it potentially getting stuck in either the stomach or the intestine, which, foreign body obstruction is a very serious situation. We need either surgery or a lot of luck that foreign body will pass. Remember, rawhide comes from either horse hides or cow hides. So in order to get those hides clean, get rid of all the tissue and the fat and all the hair, a lot of the time, heavy chemicals are used in the production of rawhide. And one of the most common chemicals is bleach. Now we'd hope that if we're going to give our dogs rawhide, that the rawhide is produced and manufactured properly, right? That it's safe for dogs. But the reality is a lot of those chemicals that are used in the production of rawhide, they kind of linger in it. So when your dog is chewing on that rawhide bone, there could be traces of bleach or whatever other chemical was used in that rawhide. Not only those chemicals, but think about what rawhide actually looks like. There's so many that are colored, right? There's food coloring added and all sorts of other additives, which dogs don't even need in the first place. So rawhide, it seems like a good chew, but there's a lot better alternatives. Plastic dog bowls. I don't really like eating out of plastic myself, and I wouldn't do it for dogs either. Plastic dog bowls are very popular because they're cheap and they're convenient. But there's a price we pay for that cheapness and convenience. Many plastic dog bowls, especially if they're a cheap quality, have chemicals in them, things like BPA. And it's actually been proven that those chemicals can disrupt dogs' hormones and even have some carcinogenic properties to them. Over time, just from wear and tear, those plastic bowls are gonna get scratched, get bitten, and whenever those plastic bowls are then scratched, it makes it a lot easier for those chemicals to then kind of seep into the water, seep into the food, whatever you put in your dog's bowl. Plastic bowls are also a breeding ground for bacteria. And those little scratches and holes, it's very easy, even if you try to keep them clean, for bacteria to get in there. And then again, we have another contaminant we have to worry about. Dogs also can develop allergies to plastic. If your dog ever has like red around their mouth, or maybe they're itching their mouth a lot, especially if you've just changed their bowls, it could be they have a plastic allergy. Luckily, we have great alternatives to plastic bowls. Things like stainless steel or ceramic, which are much more hygienic. They're non-porous. You can chuck them in the dishwasher, really easy to keep clean. Those are the 2 types of bowls you should buy instead. Hard bones can be very dangerous for dogs depending on the breed of dog you own. Now, when I say hard bones, I'm talking about specifically either weight-bearing bones or large joints from larger animals. Now, I know it sounds kind of broad, me just saying hard bones, right? So here are some specifics that I'm talking about that you're likely to see sold at pet stores. Beef knuckle bones, beef femur bones, beef hock joints, pig trotters, lamb shank bones, elk or deer antlers, and large beef ribs. Now, I know when you're at the pet store, right, and you're going down the aisle, and you see these big monster bones, and you go, oh my god, I bet my dog would love that. Well, they probably would love it, but there are some risks we have to think about first. And one of the big ones is the potential damage that can be done to our dog's teeth. When a dog is chewing on those super hard bones, we risk things like dental fractures, like the teeth chipping, or even just general wear of the teeth. All of those things then can cause the dog discomfort, pain, and if it gets really bad, things in the dog's mouth, it can actually lead to infections, and then we really got a problem. All breeds of dog are not made equal. So when we're deciding whether or not, hey, should we give our dog this super hard bone or not, there's 3 factors we have to take into consideration. For these super hard bones, the best breed of dog that has the best chance of not having any issues are large, powerful dogs. Dogs with big, powerful jaws, stronger dental structures, dogs like Rottweilers, like Mastiffs, like Pit Bulls. These large breed dogs they're still a risk, but they're better equipped to handle overly hard bones. Smaller breed dogs, on the other hand, Chihuahua, Yorkie, any other smaller breed dog, even medium-sized breeds, Labrador, Golden Retrievers, breeds like those, are more likely then to actually have issues. The age is also very important. I would never give a young puppy a super hard bone, especially when their adult teeth are just developing, just coming in. Remember, puppies lose all their teeth around 6 months, and around 6 months is when the adult teeth come in. And if we're giving them super hard bones, we risk potential damage because those teeth aren't fully set yet. You also then have to think about the chewing style, because some dogs are very, very aggressive chewers, while some are pretty soft. Dogs that have a very aggressive chewing style are the ones that are going to potentially be at a higher risk for having a problem when chewing on a hard bone. Cheap collars, harnesses, and leashes. I know buying the cheap little $2 collars you see at the checkout aisle can seem very, appealing because they're cheap. cheap, right? But you get what you pay for. One of the biggest issues with cheaply made versions of those products is the source of the material. It's not a high quality material. That's why they're able to do it so cheap. That cheap material then can have side effects. Things like causing the dog to chafe, they can have allergic reactions. You also have to keep in mind that just the overall durability, it's not gonna last as long either. Now imagine if you were to put on a pair of shoes that was either, one size too big or one size too small. Yeah, you could manage your day, but it would be very, very uncomfortable, right? You wouldn't want to go for a 2-mile walk in a pair of shoes that doesn't fit properly. Well, it's the same thing for our dogs with their harness and collar. When you buy something that's cheaply made, it's gonna fit very poorly. And maybe one side pulls a little too much here, one side pulls a little too much there. It's not gonna be comfortable for our dog. Depending on how bad that balance is, potentially could even cause damage. Damage to the dog's neck, to, their joints when they're pulling. Really, really important that we get collars and harnesses that fit properly. You also have to think about the safety factor, right? Because again, cheaply made harnesses and collars can break. They're not using the most expensive clasps, they're not using great stitching, and the last thing we want is to be walking our dog and the collar breaks, the leash breaks, something like that malfunctions, and dog's gone. There's some things it's great to be cheap on, and I'm all for. For example, dog toys. Who cares? Why do you want to spend $20 on a dog toy that's gonna get chewed up and thrown away in the garbage in the next 3 days, right? But when it comes to our dog's safety and comfort, harness, leash, collar, those are 3 things that the extra money and investment really is worth. Flea collars. The whole point of the flea collar is to kill fleas, and the way it's done is with pesticides. So yes, flea collars work to the extent that they will kill the fleas if the flea comes in contact with the collar. Flea collar is not gonna help a dog that's got fleas on his butt, but there's a huge risk to using them. There's all sorts of various risks when it comes to flea collars, including skin irritation, allergies, neurological issues, and even damage to vital organs. Now, the risk of flea collars is not just about the dogs. It's also for us humans and other animals that live with the dog who's wearing the flea collar. Young children, pregnant women, or anybody with a compromised immune system, they're all at higher risk for having potential side effects when being exposed to these pesticides. There's a lot of great natural alternatives we can use for our dogs to prevent the flea issue that doesn't involve giving our dog pesticides. And those are the kind of options that we want to opt for. Dog treats made outside of the USA. So when it comes to choosing dog treats, and by extension dog food, it's really important that we think about where that food comes from. Different countries have very different standards that they're held to when it comes to pet food and pet treat manufacturing. Here in the US, we have the FDA, which regulates, at least they try to regulate, a safe level and certain criteria that pet food companies have to meet to make sure that those pet food and the pet treats are going to be safe for our dogs. If the place that's manufacturing our dog's treats and dog's food doesn't keep high standards for things like the manufacturing process, for hygiene, there are big risks for things getting into the dog's food that shouldn't be. Toxins, pathogens, heavy metals, all those things can find their way into dog treats during the various stages of production. You've probably heard on the news or somewhere online at some point of owning a dog when the FDA puts out recalls for either dog food or dog treats. And this is really important because this is what helps to keep our dogs safe when we find out that pet food or the pet treats have been contaminated. And it does happen. When it comes to the actual nutritional value then, right, of the treats, of the food, the country of origin is very important because where they source those ingredients from, it has a direct impact on the actual end product and how nutritious then those treats and food are going to be for your dog. So yes, there are treats and food you can buy that are made outside of the USA. It's not going to necessarily kill your dog, but they're not going to be the most optimal. So if you really want to make sure your dog is safe and we don't take any risks, we want to buy food that's made domestically. Retractable leashes. I hate them. I know at first it seems very convenient. The retractable leash, we can let our dog go out 20 feet. Oh, that's so great. But they can cause a lot of issues. First of all, you have so much less control with a dog when they're on a retractable leash versus a leather or nylon one. The basic mechanism of a retractable leash also can potentially cause injury when the dog goes to pull and the leash doesn't go out as far as they think it's going to go and they suddenly get jerked. Any sort of fast, sudden jerking motion on a dog's leash can cause potential damage to either their neck or even their spine. If you have a dog that pulls, the worst possible thing you can do is get a retractable leash because the retractable leash actually encourages pulling. And if you've been working with your dog to teach them not to pull and then you put them on a retractable leash, you basically are undoing all of your work. When your dog's on a 4-6 foot leash, it's very easy to control them, right? We're taking the dog for a walk and oh my God, we see a pile of glass right ahead of us. We reel the dog in nice and fast. But if we have the dog on a retractable leash, they're out 15 feet ahead of us, they're going to be in that glass before we even notice it. It's really ideal that we stick with just the good old standard 4 to 6 foot leash, nylon or leather, something that doesn't break, doesn't malfunction. That's the best kind of leash to walk your dog with. So next time you're at the pet store and you might be tempted to buy one of these things, think twice. Alright guys, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, turn on notifications, and if you ever need a little extra help training your dog, check out my website, brightdog.com. See you next time.